The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Talk of the Bay. I'm Len B.A., and with me today is Lizbeth Silva. Lizbeth Silva is the program manager at Watsonville Law Center, where she oversees community-based legal programs, outreach initiatives, and partnerships that expand access to justice for families across Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties. Having lived most of her life in San Benito County, Lizbeth's roots in the region and her family's experience in local agriculture have shaped her commitment to serving working families and strengthening access to legal services. With more than 10 years of leadership experience in nonprofit and public service, she is passionate about building trusted community partnerships, empowering communities through education, and expanding equitable access to legal services. Lizbeth Silva, welcome to Talk of the Bay.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I wanted to start by asking you what kind of services Watsonville Law Center offers.
We offer a large amount of services in the area, legal services. We work with families to provide family health equity, helping working families access pregnancy and family-related workplace protections. We have a housing access project ensuring access to healthy and affordable housing for all. Economic justice project, fighting predatory practice and helping families build financial stability. We also help with workers' rights and empowering workers to understand and assert their workplace and rights. We have Immigration Justice Project, providing immigration and civil rights legal support to ensure dignity and fairness to all. And we partner with CalWorks, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County to help families achieve stability with child custody, visitation support, family financial stability, and access to benefits. Beyond legal representation, we strengthen our community with legal education, know your rights workshops and trainings, crisis response and legal information and resource coordination during emergencies, advocacy and system change, partnering to promote inclusive policies, capacity building, training community leaders and service providers to recognize legal needs.
And who can access your services?
These services are available for low-income individuals or families in the area. We focus on rural communities. But yeah, if you're low-income and you just want to get some information about your rights, we welcome you to come in.
Great. And how big an area do you serve?
We serve San Benito County, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County.
Uh-huh. Do people, for someone coming in who is low income, do they have to provide some kind of proof of income?
Yeah, we'll ask for a check stub, but the majority of the legal issues, you have to provide some kind of documentation, and we'll be able to verify their income through that. But yeah, we have people from not just those three counties. We've had people from Merced County come and get our services just because legal services are so rare and needed in the area, and they're not as easily accessible. So.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
For low-income people, I know that getting legal help is expensive if you're paying for it.
Yes.
Without these free services, what recourse would your clients have?
I don't think they would have much of an option. A lot of people, when they come into our office, they're lost. They just want guidance. They want to know what their rights are, and if there isn't any services like ours in the area, they just, they can get in more trouble because they're not following up with, any judgments that they might have gotten or suits that they might have gotten, or go unemployed or injured without any help. So it just causes, it becomes a vicious cycle into poverty. So
yeah. And I've personally witnessed situations where people who, for example, English is not their main language, or they're limited in their English, have simple things like getting a warrant for a unpaid parking ticket or something, and they don't understand what the consequences are, and they end up, with legal bills piling up because of something very simple that they just simply didn't have the means to, navigate.
Yeah, our community a lot of the times focuses more on surviving than handling the mundane things in life, like getting a ticket. They're like, as long as I can get to work, as if I ignore it, I can continue to get work and bring money to my family to survive. And so that's what they focus on, and lose track of the fact that we are in a system that we have to understand the rules a little bit so that we can play,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned family equity and health. What are those services, and why is that important?
We provide state disability, help filing for state disability for pregnant women that work in ag. So when you're in maternal health, as soon as you have a diagnosis of pregnancy, if you're an ag worker, you are considered disabled because you can't be working and being exposed to pesticides out in the fields. So a lot of people don't know that or understand that. Even doctors, some doctors don't know that that's the case. And so we do partner with Salud para la Gente, and we have worked with their doctors, and they know that they can put their patients on disability as soon as they get a pregnant diagnosis. We also help them file for paid family leave. These are benefits that they contribute to with every paycheck. So these are benefits that they're entitled to, and we help them acquire them. And any discrimination or anything like that they might have to deal with, and with employers, we help them with that.
Yeah, great. And I know that generally lower paid workers in general, and agricultural workers in particular, are often the victim of wage theft. That is, they're not getting paid for overtime, or they're not getting their entire paycheck, or they're not getting paid the right amount when they do work overtime. And there are even cases of just outright, like, no pay.
Yes.
People just kind of being left.
Taking advantage of the fact that, that they might not speak up, or they might not know their rights, and that they have access to it. Yeah. Right.
And then they're, particularly for those who are undocumented, having the fear that if they try to go to the authorities, that they'll be in trouble for other things instead of getting help with the problem they're facing.
Right.
So is that something that comes up with your clients?
Yes.
And how do you deal with that?
Yes, that is something that we see. Sometimes they come in just to file for their disability, and they expand on their situation and how they get paid. And we like to provide a holistic approach when we're dealing with all of our clients, not just our family or state disability clients. When they come in, we do an intake and an evaluation. And like I said, as you start asking questions, more issues start to come up. So if we see that there might be an employment issue, then we suggest that they see an employment attorney, or that they get seen for that too. If they might have consumer issues or credit issues that we might be able to help them with as well. So yeah, we try to provide the full holistic approach and all the services that they need in one building. That's what we offer. We have so many projects because we feel like our community is already so stretched out so thin that to send them from one place to another to get help that they sometimes don't even understand what kind of help they're looking for will just hinder their process a lot more. And so if we can provide all of the services in one office, that's what we're going to do.
Great. So is there like an intake process where you screen and determine what problems they have that might be in addition to what they've actually come in for? Yeah,
so we have our walk-in hours Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 12, and then 1:30 to 4 on both those days. So people can come in during those days. Those are walk-in days. And they'll be screened to make sure that they qualify for our services. And if available, we can screen and do an intake at time, or we can schedule them for an intake in a future date based on the situation and the need that they have that day.
Yeah. And you mentioned economic justice, and I know that one of the things that often comes up for people is, being taken advantage of in things like credit card offers or getting hooked on, so-called subscription services
Right.
that then they have a difficulty getting out of paying. Do those fit under economic justice, and
Yes.
what other kinds of issues you deal with?
We advise and provide representation for unfair financial practices, like you just mentioned, income protection and financial capacity building. We do have workshops that we help people understand how credit works, or how to better manage their financials. And we provide tools for long-term economic sustainability, so that once they understand what a credit score is or how to manage your credit, it'll help them make sure that they don't fall to victims of predatory lending or scams that we're all susceptible to, where you get a text message and it's a link saying you forgot to pay your toll, or you missed your toll, and then you get your identity stolen, and we help with identity theft as well. So that's part of the
good, because as soon as people are on email or social media, it seems like they're subjected to fraudulent stuff out there that's trying to scam people. And
yes,
being prepared, understanding what to avoid and what to look for is. I'm still figuring it out, and I've got a college degree and I've been looking at it for years. So,
and they know how to target, community. They know how to stress you out and make it seem like it's something that's urgent, and that's how they know that they have someone. When you sound stressed on the phone, they know that they can get you to provide all of this information, and you become so vulnerable. We're all so vulnerable.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a really valuable service to help people protect themselves and to protect them. So you must have, something like a legal staff and all of that. How do you work through these processes?
Well, we have our intake process. Once we do an intake, we'll review with an attorney. We have several attorneys in the office and legal assistants. So the legal assistants will do the interview. Sometimes the attorneys will do it too, the interview and intake. And then based on the client's goals or needs, we'll provide advice or different resources or help with applications or anything like that they might need, and provide different services if there's a need for it once the intake is done.
Great. For listeners who may just be tuning in, my guest is Lizbeth Silva. She's the program manager for Watsonville Law Center, which provides free legal services to low-income individuals in Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito counties. Lizbeth, you mentioned that housing is one of the areas where oftentimes your clients need legal assistance. What kinds of issues come up around housing?
We've seen unsafe housing conditions. We've seen housing discrimination. Some landlords, tend to discriminate with people that they think that they could get away with evicting them or raising their rent fairly. And we help with eviction prevention and teach tenants their rights.
And is that come up a lot? I mean, is this a widespread issue in our region?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of representation for housing in the area. So there's a major need for tenant rights and help with eviction notices or unfair living conditions. So on a regular basis, I think there's about 10% of our clients that come in asking for housing information.
Wow. Yeah, that's significant. And it seems that immigration is a huge issue right now because the rules keep changing, and even within the rules, the way federal authorities are handling things is they're often ignoring the rules. Like there are people who are have legal status. They may be awaiting a hearing, or they may be here on a certain kind of visa, and they're still being, in some cases, detained, put into detention facilities, or outright deported, even though they were in a condition of legal status. And that's not to mention sort of the unnecessary and crazy brutality that they're subjecting people who might not have legal status. What kind of services are you able to offer around immigration?
We do provide, right now we do have a grant that's covering for removal defense. So we do connect with the rapid response teams in the 3 counties. And so if someone is detained in the area, they are referred to one of our attorneys or the local nonprofits that also have attorneys that provide removal defense. So they'll help with that. We also do provide administrative immigration services to file for a green card renewal or apply for citizenship, stuff like that.
Great. Those are kind of routine things. These are things that come up for people all the time. Renewal of a visa, or renewal of or processing of an application, or all of that. And it seems that having legal assistance for that would be pretty much essential. Like, you can't do that on your own in most cases, right? Right.
Or even if someone can do it on their own, you could file your application alone. The difference is that we're providing legal advice with it, so you're not on your own. Like, you'll understand any consequences that might come with applying for a T visa, U visa, things like that. We'll be able to give you all of your choices, and you can decide as a participant of our project if you want to continue with the services and the risks are worth taking, or if your risks are minimum and you should consider applying anyway.
Yeah. Well, we're all vulnerable to scams, to accidents, to wage theft, to insurance errors, or lack of responsiveness by insurance companies. And it's hard for me to imagine navigating a lot of that, especially if you don't have the resources. And I wondered, obviously you're not going to be able to share people's names, but I wondered if there are a couple of anecdotes you might be able to tell us about the types of cases, some recent cases that maybe have come through the center.
We have so many cases, so just to narrow it down to a few, we have, with our SDI project of the maternal health, we've had a family that was applying for state disability, and it took a really long time for the application to get approved. And then once the application did get approved, it took like 2 years for the application to get approved. Most of these families are making $24,000 a year. So just for some context, and to go without any support while you're on disability, it could mean, it's very hard for families to survive in California, period. And then on top of that, if you're already low income, most of the families don't have a savings plan because they're seasonal workers. And so they might not have, savings for the off season, and they're pregnant. So they stopped working a long time before. So we were able to help that client get $50,000 in benefits. So that's life-changing if you think about it, to someone in our community that originally only makes $24,000 a year, and because the claim took so long to get approved, then they're able to get back pay, the full amount of their claim, and max out their benefits that they've contributed with their employment, their hours that they worked. So.
And is that a normal amount of time for it to take so long for a pregnancy disability application? I mean,
the state says it takes up to 2 weeks to get approved, but that's one of the projects that we're working on, to collect data and show that maybe with rural or immigrant communities, it's taking longer. So we're tracking that, and hopefully provide a systemic change in the whole state so that people have access to their benefits sooner.
Yeah, it seems kind of, let's say, not very logical that if you're applying for a disability for something that's immediate, like right now, I mean, suppose you broke your arm or whatever it is.
Right.
Like it's always going to be right now. You
Right.
need it now. It's
Right.
not like I need it in 6 months,
Right.
or let alone 2 years.
When you think of insurance, that's what you think. It's going to come in right away to help. That's why we have insurance,
Yeah.
State disability, car insurance, whatever kind of insurance.
Yeah, and I know it can take. I mean, we've seen that here in this area for people, with fire insurance claims, where they've waited 9 months, a year, and sometimes more than a year to get the insurance payment that they'd been paying for years.
Right.
So, yeah, interesting. So, how many people are you currently serving on what's kind of the volume of clients that come through?
Right during our walk-in days, we can serve 20 to 50 people, depending on the season. Sometimes, like right now during the summer season, most people are working, so it's a little slower, and that would be like the 20 people per walk-in day, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But during that, when the season is slow for work during the winter, we can see up to 50 people on those walk-in days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just off the top of my head, for last year for state disability, we served over 250 clients and were able to provide $2.3 million in benefits. So.
And that was just disability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody
else. And
then
all the other services that we offer.
Oh, that's great. And you have, I mean, you mentioned it's walk-in days, but people can also make appointments and come in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Other times?
No, we're only open for walk-ins on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on the other days, we serve those appointments that we've scheduled.
Oh, I see. You schedule the appointments during the walk-in times.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But that's, I mean, easily you might be serving, say, 40 to 100 people a week in this.
For
this
sure.
kind of
yes. We
case.
have 6 legal assistants, and their schedules are fully booked every day.
Yeah.
And
So if you had more people, if you had more resources, would you be serving more people in the community?
Yes, if we had more funding, if we had more staff, but it is a very because we're hiring. If you go to our website, you'll see that we have a few positions open. It's just the climate is really hard to work in right now, and it is very draining. So we understand it takes a toll, and not everyone wants to have a high stress job, or not necessarily high stress, but just where some of the outcomes aren't as positive as you'd expect because of everything changing every day.
Sure. And I've had enough encounters with the I'll call it the judicial system, nice phrase we like to use, to know that things don't generally go exactly as you want, even if you, quote, win.
Right.
So,
yes.
So, yes, I can imagine it can be discouraging for, when wow, the fair thing would have been this, but what I got was that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's tough. Okay. Well, we're going to take a really short break, and we'll be right back with more conversation with Lizbeth Silva right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to Talk of the Bay here on KSQD. I'm Len B.A., and with me is Lizbeth Silva. We've been talking about her work with Watsonville Law Center, where she serves as the program manager, overseeing community-based legal programs, outreach initiatives, and partnerships that expand access to justice for families across Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties. Lizbeth, you were talking about how a great portion of the clients that come to you have issues with maternal and family equity and health. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about the kinds of cases that you help people with there.
So right now, it's very important, our medical partnership that we have with Salud and with the doctors that we work with there and the team in Salud. They help better care for their patients and our clients by making sure that they are able to collect their disability at as early as possible, as soon as they have the pregnancy diagnosis. And then they're able to spend time after the pregnancy, after they have their baby, with their baby by collecting their paid family leave insurance as well. So that partnership that we have that medical partnership that we have is very important, because we're able to educate the doctors and the staff and advocate for families to be able to stay home and, build stronger community and families, and avoid exposure to pesticides out in the fields as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a huge health problem in South County, and probably in Monterey and San Benito counties as well. And people have been trying to get pesticide use around schools and homes restricted for literally decades.
Yeah.
And there's still a significant amount of it right there. And it not only affects the workers in the fields directly, but it also affects the people adjacent, because, air moves.
Yeah.
Go big surprise.
Right.
So it gets people all the way around. And I know that we have the one of the highest levels of child cancer rates in Pajaro Valley.
Yeah.
And the only factor that distinguishes it from other areas would be the presence of those pesticides. So this is a really important piece of that work.
Right.
And you mentioned you partner with Salud para la Gente, which has a wonderful clinic serving Watsonville and surrounding areas. And I wondered if you could tell us more about the other agencies that you partner with and how those relationships work.
We work with districts in Monterey and in Santa Cruz. We help provide workshops, Know Your Rights, housing workshops. We also partner with CalWorks, like I said, Monterey and Santa Cruz. And we provide legal services to their participants or their families that they work with. But yeah, the partnership that we have with the schools also brings the California Child Safety Plans over to the schools, and we help train their staff on how to fill out those forms, the plans, and better guide their families to have a plan in case of an emergency. You never know when something's going to happen. If a parent is detained or there's a flood and you have to go somewhere, what's going to happen with your kids? Having a plan for that is also very helpful. So those partnerships are very crucial for us, because those are trusted entities that our community already trusts and goes to. So we want to, again, make a holistic approach to any kind of service that we provide and bring the services, if possible, to them, so that it doesn't give them another place to be at or somewhere else to have to be at a certain time, making it where they're already going to be in the meeting.
Great. And you've mentioned CalWorks, and for listeners who aren't familiar with that program, what does CalWorks do and who does it operate through?
It's a county-based program that helps community members access food stamps, cash aid, or CalFresh, and then they just try to help them get on their feet and access to employment and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a very good service through the county.
Right. And you partner with them in providing the sort of the legal side of all of that.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And before we started the recording here, you were telling me a little bit about a family where you were able to help them retain their housing. And I wonder if you could describe a little bit of what happened and how that worked out.
Yes, we had a family. It was a mother with 2 children. One of the children had a disability, and the apartment complex that they were staying at had made a mistake on where they placed them, and they gave them a 3-bedroom originally. So they got notice that they were going to have to move to a 2-bedroom because they were a smaller family. And that was really going to disrupt their family because, like I said, one of the kids had a disability. So they came in and, that's a very stressful situation for a single parent to have, to any parent to have to deal with. On top of that single parent and then having a child with a disability, you can imagine that's a great cause for stress for both the parent and the children. So she came in and showed us, the notice that she had gotten, and we were, with our attorneys, we were able to help her and guide her to advocate with her doctor for the needs of her child, and we're able to keep the 3-bedroom apartment on the first floor, for safety reasons for the child. So that was a good case that we had. We have several eviction notices and cases that people come in and they're unfairly getting evicted, and we help them navigate through it and at least get their deposit back in time and give them some time to move out because it could be very stressful, and you might not have the resources to find something, especially in this area. It's really hard to find affordable housing. So
right. And the deposit usually ties up a significant chunk of cash.
Yes.
So getting that back so you can make a new deposit, because many places won't even give you a lease agreement to sign until you've paid the deposit, which is a hurdle.
Yeah.
And I know oftentimes people, in fact, many landlords I've talked to don't know what the state law says about eviction notice and how much time you have to give people. And I'm sure many of your clients aren't aware of what their rights are in that area. So does that come up often, that you can at least give people more time?
Yes. With our attorneys and the advice that we're given and that we're giving our clients and the resources that we're giving them, they're able to a lot of the times get more time, get their deposit, and just have a sense of I'm getting helped and I'm doing the right thing, and I'm just not getting taken advantage of and getting kicked out onto the street. At least you have a plan moving forward.
Right. Well, so many of these services that you provide or services you help people navigate are services that are either state funded or federally funded or sometimes both. And those policies seem to be very fluid and things change a lot. How do state and federal policies impact the demand for your services?
Well, they impact it greatly because luckily we're not federally funded, so we're able to help a lot of the demographic in the area and without any restrictions. But those changes affect all the other providers in the area, and then we have a big flow of clients coming in asking for services, and we're a small office, and so we want to help everyone and better guide them to have access to legal help. But sometimes we're only able to provide a referral or just a quick advice and referral. Sometimes that's all we're able to do. But yeah, there's changes that affect us on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I want to return to the subject of immigration again, just because that's obviously the approach to immigration has changed so much in the last couple of years. Is that making a big difference in the kinds of legal help you're being asked to provide?
Well, the need has always been high. We're focusing more on removal because a lot of the cases end up turning into removal. Just sometimes filing a regular application could just get denied and put you into removal defense. So we're seeing a high need for removal. And, luckily our ED, Adriana Melgoza, does a great job at locating funds that we could use to continue to help our community in that aspect.
And is your funding mostly coming from private donors or foundations? How does that work?
Yeah, we have private donors. We thank you for everyone that helps and donates. We have private donors. We do have foundations coming. We have state funding, and through our partnerships that we, luckily that some partners have funding that they can help cover some of the education, the Know Your Rights trainings that we provide, or any kind of workshop that we provide to help them better understand their rights. Yeah.
Great. So there's that collaboration too.
Yes.
Between the organizations you partner with, that you're actually getting help. They fund the educational service, the training service that you provide.
Yeah.
So that keeps it all moving.
Yes.
Right. Great. So you mentioned that you have walk-in days. If people are, say, unable to get there during your regular hours, can they still access your services, and how would they do that?
If you're a new client, the only way to get services because, attorney, because of attorney privileges, we only open for walk-in days for new clients on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can call during those times too, and if there isn't too many people in the lobby, then we'll answer the phone. But yeah, for new clients, the walk-in days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 12 and 1:30 to 4. Those are the main ways to get in and ask for services. We also, the agencies that we do partner with, we do accept referrals from them.
All right. Okay. So you may get a direct referral in some cases.
Yeah.
Okay. And if someone has unable to get transportation, for example, on a day when you're open, but they could call in during those same hours and try to set up an appointment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you said that's particularly for new clients?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So for existing clients, is that...
They have a direct line to their legal staff, and they can call them directly.
Great. Okay. So everyone's assigned essentially a liaison who handles their cases.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like a good way to keep track, because you have one person maintaining the file. They know who they're referred to.
And you don't want people to have the sense of having, if they're not already a client, if they believe that they're being represented by the Watsonville Law Center, we don't want any blurred lines there. We want there to be clear communication when that client attorney privilege is created. So we're very strategic that's why we only have those walk-in hours, Tuesday and Thursdays, and you can call during those times to get services.
Okay, yeah, but clearly as providing legal services, you also have to fulfill all the guidelines of state law and the Bar Association and everything else for what it is to do legal services. So you mentioned you have legal assistants, you have attorneys. Do you have other specialized people on the staff?
In the office, we have our executive director, we have our operations manager, and admin assistant. Those are the only people we have on staff right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So they're the ones coordinating everybody else's who's where, who's taking what. Yeah.
What projects we're working with, and who's doing what part of the project. Yes.
Great. I understand you have a website, right?
Yeah.
And what is that?
It's the WatsonvilleLawCenter.org. It's WatsonvilleLawCenter.org.
Okay, great. Easy. WatsonvilleLawCenter.org.
Yeah.
I think I saw another one maybe that just bounces directly to that, which is WLC.law.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the short version, which will bounce you right to WatsonvilleLawCenter.org.
Yeah.
And is it okay to give out your physical address on the air?
Yeah. Our office address is 315 Main Street, Suite 207 in Watsonville, California. We're located in the upstairs, right across from the public defender's office.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Just stay in the neighborhood if you have to access the public defender at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, great. And right downtown Watsonville, so that's very straightforward. So you've told us a bit about the services you provided and some of the cases you've handled. In the coming year, how do you expect things to progress? Where do you think the organization will be in terms of who you're serving and what kinds of cases you're serving through the remainder of 2026?
Well, we're very excited. We're expanding our services, even though we've always served the 3 counties, San Benito, Monterey, and Santa Cruz. We're opening our new office in Salinas. We haven't officially made the announcement, but I think this will be the new one. And we don't have a for sure open date yet, but we're opening an office in Salinas, so we're hoping that we're able to provide services to a lot more of our community in Monterey. At least half of our clients come from Monterey, and so it's only reasonable that we have something closer to them and downtown, close to transportation, so that they can have access to to our services. So that's one of the greatest things coming up our way. So we're hoping, to expand our services and make them more accessible to the community.
Great. Yeah, and I believe Salinas is the most populous city in the 3-county area. So Salinas makes perfect sense for that. So for listeners who might be interested in supporting your work, do you make use of volunteers?
We do. We have, if you email or info at wlc.org or .law, sorry. If you email that, you can say that you're interested in volunteering, and then we'll send you a volunteer form. And depending on capacity, because we do have a really small office, we can schedule you out to come and help. And a lot of our volunteers have turned into permanent staff. So, we believe in internships and training our volunteers into the organization, most of them. And we appreciate that they, start volunteering and then eventually want to stay. So
yeah, nothing like hands-on training.
Right.
I'm a big believer in it myself.
Yes.
And if listeners wanted to support Watsonville Law Center financially, they go to the same website to do that?
Our website is the perfect way. There's a icon that says to donate, and you just click it and provide your donation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's been a couple of fundraising drives for nonprofit organizations. One that tend to happen around the holiday season. Have you been participating in those where you get a little bit of a matching fund from either Monterey County Gives or I forget, there's one in Santa Cruz also, and there may be others I don't know about.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to be recipients of a lot of those. The Monterey County Gives or the Tuesdays of Giving. I can't remember the name of it, but we and other orgs in the area have created events just to help collect money for us too.
Terrific.
Yeah.
All right. So you got multiple opportunities here to support this really essential work.
Yes.
Because as anyone who's needed to access legal services can attest.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, you need to go somewhere where you can get these services, and Watsonville Law Center is providing that.
Yes.
For those who may just be tuning in, my guest is Lizbeth Silva. She is program manager for Watsonville Law Center, which provides free legal services to low-income individuals in Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties. They have an office in Watsonville with walk-in hours on Tuesday and Thursday between 9 and 12 and 1:30 and 4. Is that right? And I guess sometime before the end of this year, knock on wood,
yes,
you'll be opening a new office also in Salinas.
Yes, okay. We're very excited.
Terrific. Well, we have just a little bit of time left, and I want to invite you to tell listeners why this work is meaningful for you and how it's making a difference in people's lives.
This work is so meaningful to me because I've grown up in Hollister most of my life, and I've seen the value of hard work in my community with my family and my community members, and having access to legal services is so important and so crucial. And a lot of the times people don't realize that that's a legal service that you might need to understand what your background check comes out and why it's affecting you, getting a job or even accessing proper housing. So it's very important, and I feel like a lot of the times you feel like you have no options, and these are just the cards you're dealt with, and having access to these resources and just understanding what your rights are helps empower you and gives you the access to be able to change those outcomes that sometimes you feel like you didn't have any other choices. And there's studies that show that a lot of Americans don't even realize that they need legal assistance, and for minor things, maybe like their state building. Sometimes they don't even understand that needs to be addressed and set up in case something, God forbid, happens.
Yeah, and because everyone's at risk, and nowadays particularly, we're hearing really awful stories of families literally being torn apart, unexpectedly. Not like there was something they could say, "Oh, this is what I did," and that might happen, but just completely out of the blue, being told, "Oh, your visa's no good anymore. You're out of here," and these stories of vehicles being abandoned on the street because the owner and operator of the vehicle is suddenly put in detention, and their kids aren't getting picked up from school, and it's just a whole chain reaction of all kinds of problems and difficulties. So that preparation is huge. We don't want to say, "Oh, be prepared for awful things to happen," but unfortunately, it's a good idea.
As simple as knowing your rights, knowing that that you have the right to remain silent in certain situations, you have a right to an attorney. Those things matter, and even if it's not gonna protect you from that happening, because right now we're all vulnerable to that. At least knowing that those are your rights and that you can always access them, then that will be powerful. If there are any schools or any districts in the area that want to partner with us and talk about training staff on their California Child Care Plan, Safety Plan, we're more than willing to come in and train or provide workshops, to help parents and help our community have a plan for in case something like that happens. It's a very easy plan. It's been designed to be practical and not intimidating. So if any schools want to get help or need a little bit more training, we've heard some schools already have training but need a little bit more, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we can partner and come and bring our trainings in.
Wonderful. And the fact that you're able to partner with other agencies and programs to help people understand the legal avenues, their legal rights. This is the groundwork that's necessary in order for people to know when to come in and actually see you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's all for me today. Thank you so much for having us and giving us an opportunity to talk about our services. I hope I did our work justice. This is my first interview, so I hope I did it justice. But if you guys have any questions or need any information about any of our services, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, and that's WatsonvilleLawCenter.org or WLC.law for short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lizbeth Silva, thank you so much for being on Talk of the Bay, and look forward to hearing about your work in the years to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much.